Yeah, I know you are going to skip this video, but listen this first. I know that after skipping this video, you are just going to follow the same routine of your life, like going to same desk job, sit down and work. Okay, the same job which you don't want in your life, you're just following it. And do you know what? In few years, you are just going to be replaced by someone called robots or the automation. Why? Because you are not improving, and the world is evolving the automation. So instead of just get replaced by automation, why not you just come here and learn from me the automation? Because in this automation course, you are not just learning how to automate or how to do philosophy and all. No, are going to learn how to build a automated system. Yes, you heard it right, a automated system. So for that, you just have to start from Python, where I'm going to cover the basics of Python which you need for the automation. Then we jump into the Linux, and in the end we are creating a Linux distribution, which is nothing other than a system in itself which has many automations in it, and we are going to discuss the whole thing in this course. So stay with me in this course, and let's jump into the computer screen and start with installing Python. So in order to install Python in your system, first go to the browser and search Python download. Then go for the first link and select download Python. Once it's download, launch the installer. Then check add to path, and now you're good to go for install. After the installation is complete, open the command prompt and type Python. The Python shell is up now. Write a very simple code, print hello world, and now it's your Python running. Once Python is installed, it's time to dive into the concepts, and we will first open up the IDLE. Other than unlike other YouTube videos, I'm actually using IDLE at this part. Why? Because it's time to shape your concepts, not develop right through. And the first thing which we are going to cover is the data type. But before actually talking about data type, I want to teach you the concept of how a program actually works. So in order to program to work, it requires your memory, where it keeps data. It requires CPU in order to execute the instructions on those data, and in some cases it also requires IO, input output. For example, the input from the user via keyboard, or a trigger via mouse on click of button on any application. So this is how a program actually works, and it is a basic understanding before building a big system, and our goal is to build a system rather than just code or do nothing. Okay, so the first concept which we are going to cover is data types, because data types are actually what the data is going to be in our memory. So in Python there are many data types. For example, I write type in order to identify the data type, and if I type beast, okay, and enter, so I have to give parenthesis or the other side, and it's the string. Okay, so actually the type is actually a function which works, and I will teach you function later on, and it gives you the string data type. Other data type if I mention here is integer. 23, it's an integer. And if I type 50, it's float. Now if I type more, and there will be a non-data type, it's important type. And also if I type true, so it's a boolean data type. And there are many other data types also in Python, but basically we are going to focus on these data types because they are primitive. So if you want to store words, paragraphs, or any kind of characters, you are going to use string data type. If you are going to work with numbers, a rigid number, for example 23, 56, so they are integers. And if you want decimal types, for example I want 1.5 liter of milk, so that's a float. Okay, and if you want to signify that there is nothing, so use none data type. And if you want to present true or false, I mean the boolean, then you give the bool data type. And these booleans are really important while we are making decisions in our program with the if statement. Now, once the data types are covered, now we have to work with the variable, because variable and the data type are closely connected. So let me create a variable named a is equal to, let me put a value in it. For example, I'm creating a string data type and I'm typing hello. Okay, enter. So if I click on enter, so a has a value hello. So actually the hello is actually gets stored in our memory. Which memory? RAM, random access memory. It got stored in the RAM, and now a is actually a label to that memory location, that now if we type a, we're actually getting hello, a value stored at there. Basically a variable has three main characters. One is that it has its identity. I have to use id function. It has its identity. So this is actually a memory location where hello is actually gets stored. Now a has value. Okay, I mean the variable has a value. And another important property of variable is it has a type. Here a has a string type. Similarly, you can place a name is equal to Abhishek here, and if I type name, Abhishek got printed. Now if I want to add age, for example, let's type 20. So if I type age, so age got printed. And if I type find its type, so it's an integer data type. But what if I just place it as a 20.50, I mean 20 years and half a year. So if I find the type, now it's a float. So this is how dynamically typecasting works in Python. Now the variables are covered, but one more thing that we have to cover is like identifier. Actually, identifier is the another name of variable, but more specifically we use identifier name. Why? Because in future, when you create a class, when you create a function, when you create anything, so what name you give to that function, that block of code, is actually identifier, not a variable. Variable is a thing to which we actually give value. But if we are applying a whole block of code, if we are storing a whole block of code into a variable, then it's not a variable, it's a identifier. Now identifier has some rules. Like if you are actually typing a b is equal to this character, and if I type enter, it's going to be giving syntax error. Why? Because you can't place space between the name, within the name. And so I have to write something like a underscore b is underscore is acceptable. And if I write this character, now I have no errors. Another thing, that whatever identifier you name, it must have a understandable name in it. For example, if I type age is equal to 20, so it means that 20 is actually a age. But if I write g is equal to 30, what actually is g? Nobody knows it. So whatever name you give to your variable, it must be understandable, or I must say that it must have some meaning. It must be meaningful. Now identifiers are covered. One more thing which I want to pay attention here, that you can't start your identifier with numbers, because if you place numbers, it's gonna give you error. So what can we do? So more specifically, in order to get things better, what we can do, we just replace number here and place it somewhere else. for example at here, and now things are working fine. Things are working pretty fine here. Now we can also give underscore, and also in the beginning of our identifier we can give a underscore, and things are working fine. Now once we have covered the identifiers here, now it's time to cover basic functions which we are going to use in our day-to-day life in Python. So one is print. If I write any character inside it, for example hello, is gonna be printed here. If I type any number inside it, it's gonna be printed at here. And if I type a function inside it, now let's see, so it's gonna be printed here like a character. So actually whatever you put inside your print function, it's gonna be come out like a character, a string, and nothing else. Now the next function which we are going to cover is input. Like if you have a variable here, a is equal to, and I want to give permission to the user, I want to permit a user to give value to this variable, I just simply type input and write enter, and now it's asking me for giving some value. So let me give it 78, and now if I do print a, it's gonna be 78. And in your programs, when you're writing a script, for example, you have to use this print and then variable name inside it, because in shell you get this value, but in program you are not going to get this value. You have to use print function in it.
Well done, right? You are made to the end of this video, and you have learned many things from this video, such as how to install Python in your system, what is a data type, variable, and functions such as print function and input functions. But things not just end here. I want you to go out and find domains where you can apply this knowledge. Try to write programs with it. And if you found any doubt or question, I'm waiting for you here. Ask me questions and I will reply to you as soon as possible. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like it. Subscribe to the channel for more videos, and also remember one thing: keep working.